the heart of an ancient forest, where the boundaries between light and darkness blur, a Dryad named Elysia stood watch over her sacred grove. For centuries, she had been the guardian of this mystical realm, her very essence intertwined with the life force of the trees. But now, an insidious presence had begun to seep into the once vibrant woodland, corrupting everything it touched. Elysia first noticed the change when the leaves of the great oak at the center of the grove began to wither and fall, even though autumn was still a distant whisper. The air grew heavy with an unseen malice, and the animals that once thrived in the undergrowth had fallen silent, as if sensing the approaching danger. As the days passed, the corruption spread like a plague, twisting the trees and plants into grotesque, malformed shapes. The once clear streams ran thick with a foul black substance that smelled of decay and despair. Elysia knew that this was no natural blight. It was the work of dark magic, the kind that could only be wielded by one steeped in the most vile of arts. Determined to uncover the source of the corruption, Elysia delved deep into the memories of the forest, seeking answers in the whispers of the ancient trees. It was then that she discovered the legend of the Elven witch, a figure of immense power and cruelty who had been banished from the realm centuries ago. The witch, it was said, had sworn revenge against the forest and all who dwelled within it. As the realization of the true threat facing her beloved grove settled upon her, Elysia knew that she would have to confront this evil head-on. She would not allow the Elven witch to destroy the very heart of the forest she had sworn to protect. With a heavy heart and a determination forged by centuries of guardianship, Elysia set out to face the darkness that threatened to consume everything she held dear. As Elysia ventured deeper into the corrupted woods, the very air seemed to thicken with a palpable sense of dread. The once familiar paths now twisted and turned in unexpected ways, as if the forest itself had been reshaped by the Elven witch's malevolent power. Strange, unearthly sounds echoed through the trees, the cries of creatures that had been warped beyond recognition. Suddenly, the Dryad found herself face to face with one of the witch's abominations, a creature that had once been a majestic stag, now transformed into a grotesque, multi-limbed monstrosity. Its eyes glowed with an unnatural, sickly green light, and its antlers had grown into jagged, twisted spires that dripped with a foul, black ichor. Elysia's heart ached at the sight of the corrupted creature, knowing that it was a victim of the witch's cruelty. She reached out with her magic, attempting to soothe the beast's tortured soul, but the witch's hold was too strong. With a mournful cry, the stag lunged at Elysia, its distorted form moving with an unnatural speed and agility. The Dryad was forced to defend herself, summoning the power of the ancient trees to aid her in battle. Roots burst from the ground, ensnaring the stag's twisted limbs while thorny vines lashed out at its corrupted flesh. Elysia's eyes glowed with a brilliant emerald light as she poured her life force into the fray, determined to free the creature from its cursed existence. In the end, the stag lay still, its body reverting to its natural form as the witch's magic dissipated. Elysia knelt beside the fallen creature, offering a silent prayer for its tortured soul. She knew that this was only the beginning of the challenges she would face in her quest to confront the Elven witch and save her beloved forest. With a heavy heart, she pressed on, the weight of her duty driving her forward into the heart of the darkness. As Elysia pressed on through the corrupted forest, she began to sense a malevolent presence watching her every move. The shadows seemed to flicker and dance with a life of their own, and the Dryad knew that the Elven witch was aware of her presence. The very air crackled with an ancient dark energy that sought to suffocate the light and life from everything it touched. Suddenly, a voice cut through the eerie silence, a voice that was at once seductive and terrifying, filled with the promise of power and the threat of unimaginable pain. "Foolish Dryad," the voice whispered, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "You dare to challenge me in my own domain? You who are but a mere servant of the forest against me, the mistress of darkness?" Elysia stood tall, her eyes blazing with a fierce determination. "I am no mere servant," she declared, her voice ringing out through the twisted trees. "I am the guardian of this sacred place, and I will not allow your evil to poison its heart any longer. Show yourself, witch, and face the judgment of the ancient ones." A cruel laugh echoed through the forest, and the shadows began to coalesce into a single terrifying form. The Elven witch stepped forward, her beauty twisted by centuries of dark magic and bitter hatred. Her eyes glowed with a malevolent red light, and her skin was pale as bone, etched with arcane symbols that pulsed with an otherworldly power. "Judgment," the witch sneered, her lips curling into a mocking smile. "What judgment can you hope to pass upon me, little Dryad? I have seen the rise and fall of empires, the birth and death of gods. I am the mistress of the forbidden arts, the weaver of nightmares and the harbinger of despair. You are nothing more than a flickering candle against the infinite darkness that I command." Elysia faced the elven witch, her resolve unwavering in the face of the ancient evil that stood before her. "You underestimate the power of life and light," the Dryad declared, her voice filled with a quiet strength. "The forest is more than just trees and creatures. It is a living, breathing entity, with a will and a spirit of its own, and it has chosen me as its champion." The witch laughed, a sound that was as cold and sharp as a blade of ice. "Champion?" she mocked, her eyes glittering with malice. "You are nothing more than a pawn, a plaything of the forces you claim to serve. The forest will abandon you just as it abandoned me so long ago. It cares nothing for the fate of individuals, only for its own survival." Elysia shook her head, a smile playing at the corners of her lips. "You are wrong," she said softly. "The forest cares for all its children, even those who have lost their way. It was your own bitterness and hatred that led you down this dark path, not the forest's betrayal. There is still a chance for redemption if you are willing to seek it." The witch's face contorted in rage, and she lashed out with a bolt of dark energy that crackled through the air like a lightning strike. Elysia raised her hand, and a shimmering shield of emerald light sprang into existence, absorbing the attack and dissipating it harmlessly into the surrounding foliage. "Redemption?" the witch spat, her voice dripping with venom. "I have no need for redemption. I have embraced the darkness, and it has made me stronger than you can possibly imagine. I will see this forest burn, and from its ashes, I will create a new world, one where I am the supreme mistress and all living things bow before me." The battle between Elysia and the elven witch raged on, the very fabric of the forest shifting and warping around them as their powers collided. Ancient trees uprooted themselves, becoming living weapons in the hands of the Dryad, while the witch summoned forth hordes of twisted, corrupted creatures to do her bidding. Amidst the chaos, Elysia's eyes locked onto the witch's, and in that moment, she saw beyond the veil of hatred and bitterness that had consumed her foe for so long. Deep within those crimson orbs, she glimpsed a flicker of pain, a reminder of the person the witch had once been, before the darkness had taken hold. "It's not too late," Elysia called out, her voice cutting through the din of battle like a beacon of hope. "You can still turn back from this path. The forest will welcome you home if you only let go of your anger and embrace the light once more." For a moment, the witch faltered, her expression shifting from rage to confusion, and then to a fleeting glimpse of longing. But as quickly as it had appeared, the moment passed, and the witch's face hardened once more. "Lies!" she screamed, her voice raw with centuries of pain and betrayal. "The light has no place for me anymore. I will see this forest burn, and you along with it." With a final, desperate surge of power, the witch unleashed a maelstrom of dark energy, tearing at the very foundations of the forest itself. But Elysia stood firm, drawing upon the strength of the ancient trees and the love she held for all living things. In a blinding flash of emerald light, she met the witch's attack head-on, pouring every ounce of her being into one final decisive blow. When the light faded, the witch was gone, her form dissipating into wisps of shadow that scattered on the wind. The forest, though battered and scarred, began to heal, the corruption slowly fading as the natural order reasserted itself. Elysia, exhausted but triumphant, knelt amidst the ruins of the battlefield, whispering a prayer of thanks to the Ancient Ones. She had fulfilled her duty, and the forest would endure, as it always had and always would.